Hey Mom, you're my only subscriber. This is my first video. Today I'm going to talk about how to improve your breathing to increase your athletic performance. So I've been reading this new book, The Oxygen Advantage, and it talks about how to simulate high altitude training, as well as using breath holding techniques to increase your performance. And what happens with high altitude training is that you need to be in the mountains, and it actually lowers the oxygen in your blood. So usually blood oxygen percentage should be 95 to 100%, but when you're at a high altitude, you can lower it to 94% and a little bit below that, which is a healthy range. 95 to 100 is a healthy range, but if you get to 94, 93, a little bit below that, that's the range that causes a little bit of a shortage, which causes your body to produce more blood and to circulate blood better, as well as increasing your respiratory function. So your breathing makes your breathing easier. You can produce more oxygen, and it's easier to release the oxygen from the bloodstream into the muscles, into your lungs. So it increases circulation of blood as well as increasing your breathing functions. And obviously that can increase your athletic performance. So the way you can simulate that, you can bring them out into yourself, because not everyone lives at a high altitude. And it might be too intense if you were to go to a high altitude because there's no time to take a break. So what you can do is, when you're at home, just walk around somewhere, and you can do, what I do is I put a stopwatch on my phone, take a walk for about 10 minutes, and at every minute mark, so the whole time you're doing breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the nose, because we don't want to breathe through the mouth. So breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose, lightly and calmly and relaxed. But on every minute mark, we do inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, lightly and calmly. And after the calm exhale, that's when you're going to want to hold the breath for 5 to 10 seconds. But instead of counting with seconds, we're going to count the breath hold with paces. So let's say you walk. Let's say you can walk 5 steps while holding your breath after exhalation, not inhaling. So you inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, hold the breath for 5 seconds or 5 steps, and then continue inhaling and exhaling normally through your nose for the next minute. And then once the 2-minute mark hits on your phone, then you can try again and try to get a little bit more. So for me, what I've started doing, what I just did this morning, is I started my stopwatch after doing a little bit of inhale and exhale through my nose. And then I did, on the 0-minute mark, right when I started it, I did my breath hold, and my record was 10. So I did 12 to give me a little challenge. And you should start off with a number that's easy. So my easy mark is 12. So I started there because that's something manageable, and you want to get a little bit harder later. You don't want to start off too hard or you'll get too tired. So I started off at 12, and then I did that 12 paces while holding my breath. Inhale and exhale through the nose. Should be quiet, calm, and relaxed. You should barely hear the breath or feel it. And your goal is to not hear the breath at all. And so, the 0-minute mark I did 12. At the 1-minute mark I did 14. 2-minute mark I did 16. 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. And finally at the 10-minute mark I did 30. And after you start holding it for longer, it'll obviously take more time to walk all your paces. And so it might not actually be exactly on the 1-minute mark every time. But what you should try to do is, you should try to do as best as you can to rest 1 minute or so. So let's say I did my 30 paces at the end. Or let's say I did my 14 paces. I'm in the middle of my workout, my breathing workout. I did 14 paces. And since I started at 2 minutes, the 14 bases took me to, let's say, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So now I can rest for a whole minute. I can rest till about 3:14. And just make sure you're getting in your 10 minutes of walking and your 10 minutes of, and get your 10 held breath intervals. And make sure you can rest until you're relaxed and calm. If that takes a minute until you're relaxed and calm, that's good. A minute is like the time that I needed. It could take a minute to 2 minutes. You should be relaxed within 2 to 3 breaths. You should be relaxed. But you want to give yourself a minute or two to rest until you need the next one. So you shouldn't need a minute to completely recover. You shouldn't be out of breath. If you're out of breath after doing this, then you're overexerting yourself. So what you want to do is take the breath in your nose and out your nose calmly. And then for me, it was 10 paces, but do whatever you can do that you can manage. So you start off with an easy number. Start off with an easy number, and then you can increase slowly, little by little. And then over time, you should be able to get to 80 paces. That's actually achievable for almost everyone. 80 paces. And once you get to 80 paces while holding your breath, you'll find that your nasal passages are unblocked. And for people that usually have nasal blockages like me, that's the reason I'm doing it, to unblock my nose and also to help with my asthma. For people that have that after 80 paces, you can do that regularly, you should have a permanent unblocking of the nose. That's why this exercise is actually called nose unblocking. But when you do it at whatever level you're at, it should unblock your nose a little bit. So if I do like 15 or 12 or whatever, it will unblock my nose a little bit, but it'll only be temporary. But once you can get to 80 paces or 80 steps, then your nose will be permanently unblocked. And of course you want to repeat it every day or however often you can do. I'm gonna try for twice a day because I really want to focus on improving my breath, improving my conditioning. But this is a way you can increase your conditioning, simulating high altitude training, bringing the mountain to you, and also simulating high intensity training. Because you don't have to go through, when you're going through high intensity training, like let's say we're running wind sprints, something like that, you're actually having an oxygen shortage because your body's using that oxygen to go to every muscle, so your muscles can move fast. But at the same time as that oxygen shortage, the body's also experiencing a carbon dioxide shortage. And the problem with that is that you need carbon dioxide in order to release the oxygen from the bloodstream. So you want oxygen because you want the oxygen to be brought from the blood to the muscles. But in order to release the oxygen from the blood, once it gets to the muscles, you need carbon dioxide in order to do that. And so carbon dioxide is not just a waste gas, it's actually vital in performing these basic functions. Okay? So in this way, you can simulate high altitude training and high intensity training, and also seeking to increase your carbon dioxide resistance, because you want to be able to withstand a high amount of carbon dioxide. And when you hold the breath, it actually increases the amount of carbon dioxide in your body. So you need to increase your tolerance to carbon dioxide. The more carbon dioxide you can tolerate, the better you'll be able to breathe throughout daily life, and especially throughout your exercise, because you want that carbon dioxide to be able to be released, and you'll be able to breathe more calmly during exercise. So imagine doing wind sprints and you're just calm and you're just relaxed, and everyone else on your team is huffing and puffing, breathing through their mouth. You're breathing through your nose because you're carefully and calmly breathing, because you've practiced this every single day. So that's your daily breathing lesson. Thanks for watching, Mom and Baba and Jiddo. So yeah, that was my first video. like and subscribe and share. Thanks.